So tell us about this issue of VAT, value-added tax. What really is it?
VAT is one of the various taxes that we charge in this country. It's a tax that came to replace the old, what we call sales tax. And the old sales tax had its own deficiencies. And so I think somewhere in 1995, and then I think later it settled in 98, because 95 earlier it was met with a lot of resistance, and then later in 98, VAT was introduced. And VAT essentially is a tax on value addition at the various stages of what we call the value chain. So it's called value added tax. Essentially, it taxes the margin that anybody in that value chain, usually in the wholesale retail value chain, is creating or is adding onto the value of the good.
So is it price margin or quality of the product?
No, I mean, it's a price margin. Okay. So a price margin follows whatever value you have added to it. Somebody just adds value by putting it in a particular shop. Somebody adds value by transforming it in a particular way. Whatever value. And so if you look at the items that go into it, your overheads and then your margin will come together to create what we call the value that has been added. So VAT essentially taxes that value that has been added across various steps in the value chain. And the model for computing is, it's actually 15%. But because we've added NHIL, etc. to it, it's now 17.5. So it's 17.5% on the cost of the goods as you buy them. And then as you add value and you sell at the output point, another 17.5% on that. The real VAT that you pay is a net of the output minus the input. So let me give you a simple illustration. If I was buying this tin of milk and purporting to add value to it and to sell, and I bought this tin of milk for example 1 cedi.
So you come and buy it from Harriet?
Yes.
For 1 cedi?
Yes, at 1 cedi. Well, let me use 100 just to make the numbers easier. At 100 cedis, the cost of the tin of milk is actually 100 cedis. But I will pay 17.5% VAT input tax to Harriet. She's taking it on behalf of government. I will now add my value.
So you will pay 117 and a half?
Yes.
Okay.
I will now add my value to it. For example, by the time I'm done with my value, it's now come up to 150 cedis.
And you determine that value you're adding yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I will now charge an extra 17.5, this time on the 150 cedis.
And you give that to government?
And no, I charge that to whoever is coming to buy that from me. So that person, just like how I paid, that person will pay that 17.5%. Now the difference between the 17.5% on the 100 that I paid to her and the 17.5 on the 150 which I charged is the actual net VAT that I have paid. And at the end of the month, I have to do what we call the VAT computation, where I do the output VAT, which is the 17.5% on the 150, minus the 17.5 on the initial 100. And then I'll file my returns to government. This is the model.
So Harriet pays government, you also pay government?
Yes.
Okay.
But the net, you would notice that between what she paid and what I paid is an effective marginal rate that I have paid.
So Harriet, now walk us through the items that you have.
Okay, so this is from a supermarket and this is from a market.
Same items?
Yes, same items. Okay, for this one is 7 cedi 50 pesos.
That's what?
Okay, for the markets is 7 cedi 50
Which
pesos.
item?
That is the fried oil.
Fried oil.
7 cedi 50 pesos, and this is 9 cedi 20 pesos.
7 cedi 50 pesos in the market and 9 cedi 20 pesos in the supermarket. Okay, let's go to the rest of that.
Okay, this is 3 cedi 20 pesos.
That's 10 milk.
Yes,
I just mentioned that.
Okay, ideal milk. This is 3 cedi 20 pesos at the supermarket, and then over here is 2 cedi 50 pesos.
So that's 1 cedi difference.
Yes.
Okay.
So for the salt is 1 cedi 50 pesos at the supermarket, and then 1 cedi 40 pesos at the market. Just 10 pesos. Okay, and then for the lax is 4 cedi 10 pesos.
Supermarket?
Yes, supermarkets, 4 cedi 10.
Regular market?
Regular market is 4 cedi. We couldn't get lax, but we bought live boy, and it's 4 cedi.
10 pesos difference?
10 pesos difference.
It means that the differences in prices in the supermarkets and the regular markets is not significant for unit items.
Yeah.
It's not?
No,
okay.
not at all.
If I may just hazard a quick explanation, two things are happening. A lot of the supermarkets are buying in bigger bulk. When they buy in bigger bulk, they get some more discount. So you find that...
But they are selling higher.
I know. You will find that from the onset, the per unit price available to the supermarket is relatively lower than what it should be for the woman in the market who bought a different price. But you are seeing a differential because, you know, the value addition process, one is subjective, and two is such that in a supermarket, go to any of these supermarkets, they have air conditioners, they have people.
We're just talking about air conditioning.
Yeah, they charge you for all of those things.
Yeah.
All of those things are put in there.
So
They
that's
have
value added?
advertising. Yes.
That's what you,
Yes,
that's
yes. You are paying
qualifies
for
as
all of
value added.
those. They are advertising on radio and on television. They've got lights. They've got air conditioners. They've got all of these pretty young
They've
ladies.
got nice
who
bathrooms.
Are, yes, you pay for all of those things. They've got to recover the money. So comparing these prices on this basis may not necessarily demonstrate to you what the 3% is doing between these two markets.
Okay, but we are finding that the price is not significantly different. I mean, given the quality of service that the supermarket offers and that the regular market might offer, even the way to get to the regular market, the slow process of movement, traffic, etc., we are finding that the prices are very similar. What should we do with that? Oh, you want to say something?
For the sunlight is 1 cedi 70 pesos, and then at the market is 1 cedi 50 pesos, just 20 pesos.
Just 20 pesos.
Yes.
And the key soap?
The key soap is 6 cedi 50 pesos, and then at the supermarket 7 cedi 50 pesos.
Wow.
Another thing that is happening for many of these FMCGs, as we often call them, is that you have a manufacturer who doesn't just manufacture and throw out through the wholesalers, but a manufacturer who has an eye into the retail game, and therefore gives what we call recommended prices. So you find some of the manufacturers manufacture, advertise, and even advertise a recommended price, and literally try to restrict the trade and push to them. It's like what the telcos do, you know, trying to restrict and tell you what the end price is when you go to any retail point. These are some of the reasons that account for the closeness in the prices that you are seeing in some of these products. Now, this is the model for VAT. There are about two schools of thought. There are those who, well, generally it is accepted that this has its own difficulties. Not everybody can do this. Some wholesalers are able to do a lot of this. A lot of retailers are not able to do this. And so in some jurisdictions, what they have done is to say that, okay, retailers only go onto a flat rate.
Who are retailers? The one I'm buying the milk from the street?
Yes. They are
the shop in Kokomlemle in
yes.
Laboni, they are the retailers.
The shop where you are buying probably 1 or 2 or 3. The shop where you are not buying in bulk to on-sell to somebody.
That's retail.
Buying for consumption, that's retail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in some other jurisdictions, what has been said is that, okay, the wholesalers and the resellers have to move to the flat rate so that now it is easier to compute. Now, bear in mind two things. A, this 17.5% is not a 17.5% flat rate. It's a 17.5% net of output input. Anybody who says 17.5% against 3% is already beginning to compare apples and oranges because it's 17.5% on value added. The flat rate model seeks to investigate what is the real effective margin we are taxing. And in the trade, if you look at trade, the statistics show that the real effective margin that is being taxed when you do the 17.5% output input is just about 3%. When you look at the margins that people are putting on it, plus their overheads.
You have to explain that further.
Okay. So they have all of these statistical models that they use. I don't have those models here. But suffice to say that the models tell us that in trading, the effective margin that is taxed after people have put their margins on it and you have done 17.5% output input, effectively what you have done is to tax about 3%.
So the output input is an addition subtraction. Is there a subtraction effect in that?
Of course, because you are doing 17.5%. And perhaps let me use a little calculation that I have done. Take a stock of goods. Let's say all of these goods here cost 1,200 Ghana cedis. I'll calculate 17.5% on it, which is about 210 Ghana cedis. I will add my margin to it, my margin of about 420 cedis. Now, the price now is sitting about 1,640. That's 1,200 plus 420. Because the 210 that I paid is literally an advance to government.
Okay.
Okay.
At
now,
which point did you pay that advance to government?
At the point of purchase. So the real price here is this 1,200, which I bought. The 210, and if you read the VAT law, the 210, the input VAT, is really not considered as part of the cost of the items. It is sort of an advance tax payment to government. Now I add my margin to it, which brings me to 1,620. I now have to calculate 17.5% on this 1,620, which brings me to about 284 cedis. I now have to net off 284 minus 210, which brings me to about
210 being your margin.
No, 210 being the initial
The initial VAT that you pay.
You see how cumbersome this calculation is,
You have
even
to
for us.
And you do that all that.
Well, yes.
Does the IRS know that it was 1,000 and your margin was 200?
You have to submit all your records, your invoices, your
and give it to them.
trading books. Yes.
So you create the tax regime individually, and then send it to the IRS and say this is what.
You don't create the regime. The regime has been created by law, but you do your own.
The imputation.
Yes. Calculation.
And then you do your own margin.
What we call the VAT returns.
Okay.
This is what you do, and then you submit it. You would notice that effectively what they have taxed is a 3% on the margin.
Okay.
Now, what we are saying is that to avoid all of this cumbersome thing, and the effect of this cumbersome nature is that a lot of people avoid it. A lot of people actually evade, not avoid, to use the term.
Yeah, it's evadable.
There are many places where you go to buy where they will ask you, boss, open VAT invoice and now open VAT invoice. Many restaurants, many other places. Because this.
So where you take the non-VAT invoice, what happens? There's no record that he has traded.
A, and B, the one who has created value, who should pay a tax on the value created, has evaded it. And you have been a co-conspirator in that exercise.
Okay, so it means
this is what has been happening.
So that the IRS doesn't know. There's no record of it. Okay.
So now, the policy position is that let us move towards a flat rate. It is a flat rate on sales. And effectively, that same rate of 3% effective marginal rate is what we are using. So now this is what we are saying. Don't worry about 17.5% input, 17.5% output. If this is all you sold for the month, how much did you sell for the month? If you sold 100 cedis, you pay 3 cedis to government. Simple. This is the whole essence of
this is who? VAT. Retailer or wholesaler?
This is both wholesaler and retailer. That is what the Amendment Act says, both wholesaler and retailer. Now, I must be quick to say that for any new approach of this kind, you would experience some opposition. Our challenge or our task is to go through the process, explain until we get to a point of understanding. But effectively, it is a simplified way of computing VAT. So
whatever you sold, you owe us 3% of whatever you sold. Yes. Full stop.
Simple. If you're a wholesaler, you're a retailer, whatever you sell, you pay government 3% on it. Simple.